Team natural or team plastic surgery? Which one are you on? This is not a new debate. I think it comes up at least once a year in our international and national discourse on what is beauty, what are beauty standards, and are they fair? But I think when you talk to most people, they do find themselves in one of two camps. Either they're team natural or they're team plastic surgery. But is there a world where the two can coexist? I am a self-confessed team natural member, but I'm also a plastic surgeon. Am I a hypocrite? Let's talk about it. So let's first start by breaking all the way down what it means to be in team plastic surgery for the most part. So what we're seeing is that acceptance of and access to plastic surgery are at the all-time high. Whereas plastic surgery used to be reserved for the super elite, now we're seeing that the general masses have more access to plastic surgery and plastic surgeons. You're seeing a diversity in range of cost, you're seeing a diversity of offerings, and we're also seeing an increased diversity of patients. So whereas white women occupy the majority of plastic surgery patients worldwide, we're now seeing Black and brown women and men, and even white men too, finding themselves consulting with and proceeding with plastic surgery. So we've, in a way, equaled the playing field, economically, socially, and racially and ethnically. What's also different about this current movement is that people who are on team plastic surgery or who have had plastic surgery are a lot more vocal about the fact that they're on team plastic surgery. Whereas before, the idea was you go to a spa, you come back, and you got a facelift somehow at the spa. Now people are saying loud and proud, hey, I had some surgery done, and that doesn't mean I don't believe in myself or believe that I'm beautiful. It just means that I was able to get the surgery and could tweak or enhance that one thing or two things that I didn't appreciate. Now, if you're more of a negative, pessimistic person, you might also say that these people who are loud and proud can also be using plastic surgery as a surrogacy for their wealth, right? So it's saying basically, I had the resources to have this done. I may have been ugly, but now I'm not, and you could never, because you broke. But that's a whole different, that's a whole different discussion. People who have been kind of in the media known for being on this team include Cardi B, K. Michelle has admitted to having plastic surgery done, Angela White has admitted to having plastic surgery done, and we could argue this too. While K. Michelle and Angela White have been more recent poster childs for what should not be done with plastic surgery, you can say that at one point they were on the team. So let's break down the team natural movement. I think of it in two ways. So there's classically the body positivity movement, right? It's basically celebrating the imperfection, saying that in imperfection there is perfection. We are all different. We should accept what we have naturally and move through life as such. When I think of this, right now, the one person that I think of being the champion of this movement in the public realm is Lizzo. Lizzo has been historically out there as a big plus-size woman who is proud of who she is and is very much all about celebrating the plus-size woman, the natural woman, the curvy woman, what have you. And some could argue she's losing weight, so does that make her less team natural? That's an argument that I don't want to get into either. But the point is that she has never claimed to have any plastic surgery done. Even with weight loss, she still continues to celebrate being a plus-size woman, being perfect in her imperfection. And so I think she's firmly in the team natural camp. But while that's beautiful, and I do believe that is beautiful, let's think about this. Lizzo is a plus-size woman. So her shouting from the rooftops, I'm beautiful and I know it, doesn't threaten anyone else's beauty or a sense of their own self-beauty. Typically, plus size women have not occupied a space of sexuality, of beauty in our world. I think increasingly we're seeing that paradigm change. But if you look historically, the plus size woman was not the sex symbol. She was, for all intents and purposes, the fat friend in the movie. Or she was the before to the she's all that after, right? So she lost the weight, she got beautiful, and then all of a sudden, all the boys want her. But she in and of itself was not what we thought of as the beautiful, sexy person, unfortunately. And if you add age to this, that's even worse. Then older plus size women become matriarchy, they become moms, they become grandmother figures. If you think of Medea, if you think of Big Mama, they've been relegated to the role of the nurturer. But again, no one's thinking about who's knocking boots with Medea. And no one's thinking about Big Mama as a sex symbol either. Again, while I say that I love that Lizzo is body positive, I do think we have to realize that Lizzo saying she's body positive and team natural is different from a Megan Good, a Kelly Rowland, a Halle Berry saying the same thing. If we were to look at Meg Thee Stallion, Megan Good, and Halle Berry, what do they have in common besides being three incredible Black women? They all are known and celebrated publicly for their beauty. So if they came out and confessed that they were team natural, love the skin you're in, don't change a thing, we might think about team natural a little bit differently. Let me make a disclaimer before I keep moving on. I don't know these women personally, so I don't know what team they would be on, but let's just make an assumption that if a Megan Good, if a Jennifer Lopez, if a Halle Berry were on team natural, that would be different than if a Lizzo were on team natural. And the truth is, a lot of members of the team natural movement benefit from the fact that they have always had looks that were aesthetically pleasing. They benefited from what has now been dubbed pretty privilege. And even those of us who say, well, I was an ugly duckling and now I've become a beautiful swan and I didn't use plastic surgery, that's an argument to make, but it still falls short, right? I used to have big lips. I've had big lips forever and they weren't in style, but they're in style now. I was teased back then, I'm not teased anymore. But that doesn't make my own ability to move through life and enjoy some pretty privilege any less true. Just because the tide turned in the favor of a lot of former ugly ducklings who are now beautiful swans doesn't change the fact that they still benefit from being aesthetically pleasing. And so if you're aesthetically pleasing, and you have parts, dimensions, angles that most people appreciate as pretty or as beautiful, then being team natural is very easy to be. And dare I say, judging others for not being able to enjoy those same benefits can also be easy. I think another thing that members of Team Natural have to understand is some of us don't acknowledge the things that we do that fall into that spectrum of facial and body enhancement. We go to the gym, saunas, facials, nails done, hair done, everything did. That's a part of changing or enhancing your look. Just because it doesn't involve general anesthesia and a scalpel doesn't make it less of an enhancement. Again, it's a spectrum. I think fall into two camps about why they are critics of plastic surgery. Is it because they want to guard the gate? They want to limit access to beauty? Because they realize, just like wealth, it's a commodity. If everyone's beautiful, then it's not really a thing. It's just everybody. If everyone is rich, it's not a thing. That's just life. So if we guard access to beauty, are we making sure to maintain its value? Think about that. Or is it really that people just don't realize that beauty is a commodity like wealth? Do you not realize the privilege that you have when you have it? It's the same argument to be made for white privilege. Do you not understand the privilege that you have by being born white, by being born beautiful, by being born rich? Hopefully, we're in an era, we are in a stay woke era, right? Where people do realize that being born beautiful, rich, white, have inherent privilege. And there's no way to really negate that. Now, let's turn that a little bit on its head, because the conversation gets more complicated when you think about plastic surgery. Yes, it's on the spectrum, but you have to admit, it's at the end of that spectrum, right? Getting a weave and a wig is not the same thing as going under the knife. Plastic surgery is safe when it's performed by qualified professionals, i.e. a board-certified plastic surgeon or the equivalent in an international country, under standard conditions on people who have been screened appropriately. When you remove any of those three components, you inherently increase the risk of getting plastic surgery. So some Team Natural members are not just saying, hey, love the skin you're in, we don't want to water down the value of beauty, but they're also saying, hey, love the skin you're in, because y'all are dying out here from BBLs. And that's real and should never happen. And unfortunately, people who are team plastic surgery, who are vocal, who have more access, are putting themselves at increased risk for not a lot of benefit. They're picking professionals, sometimes not even professionals, picking people who are not qualified to deliver the services they're offering. They are choosing plastic surgery by surgeons who aren't as discriminating and who aren't making sure that the patient is at the healthiest point that they can be ever. And sometimes the plastic surgeons, and I don't know if they're board certified or not, but a lot of times they're not, and they're doing surgery under riskier conditions. They're not doing it with general anesthesia, or not doing it with a qualified anesthesiologist or CRNA. So we have to think about that in the conversation of team natural versus team plastic surgery. But I don't want to get too far off topic. So let's come back a little bit. Really, I think there's a third team. And maybe I'm a hypocrite for saying that, but I think that's true. I think there is a world where you can be team natural and also be team plastic surgery. And I've had to struggle with this myself as a person who's always wanted to be a plastic surgeon, but who also believed that you should love the skin that you're in. I grew up wanting to be a reconstructive plastic surgeon who could help people through cancer, through trauma, and through congenital differences that made them look very different from a lot of other people. And that's why I still love this profession, and that's part of the reason why I celebrate what I do all the time. But I've also loved aesthetic medicine, and I love being able to celebrate a woman's beauty or a man's beauty while also allowing them to enhance what they already have. I embrace, and I think many members of this third team embrace, that it's always good to love the skin that you're in, but it's also normal to not love everything that skin is in. I think a lot of us have one or two things that we don't love absolutely, whether it be stretch marks, small beauty, or am I just naming the things that I don't love about myself? No, but seriously, I think we all have one or two things that we don't love. And it would be great if we just all said, kumbaya, we're gonna live as we were born, that's it, that's all. But we also have to realize that if we have access to resources, access to safe plastic surgery, access to safe things that allow us to enhance, access to makeup, to the gym, to fillers, to Botox, to weaves and wigs and what have you, then isn't it okay that we want to change something? Changing those one or two things, does that negate the love that I have for myself? No. I don't think so. And I think I'm not the only person on this team. I think there are a lot of plastic surgeons, women, men that are on this team, but maybe not as vocal. Kelly Rowland comes to mind. Kelly Rowland has publicly said that she's had a breast augmentation, but she has always been beautiful. And if Kelly Rowland had a facelift in 30, 40 years, I wouldn't find her any less beautiful. I'd still think she's a beautiful woman who had one enhancement and she maintained her beauty. Like with all things, there are levels to this. Wanting 1 or 2 surgeries is one thing. Wanting 20 is a different thing, right? And so that's when it really becomes a question of, do you love yourself? And should we have a discussion about you figuring out why you don't, rather than you choosing these 20 procedures to change your entire self? So I think we need a new name, truly. I think the name should be something like Team Plateral or Team Nastic Surgery. I'm corny as hell, but you get the point. I think we need a third team, and the third team needs a new name that really represents who we are as members. Members who believe that we love ourselves, we embrace the imperfections, but sometimes there's that 1 or 2 imperfection that we could stand to change. And if we have the resources, who are we to judge? Or who are you to judge? What do you think? As always, love you lots. Bye for now.